tier list? Did someone say they wanted a tier list? Even if you guys said you didn't want a tier list, here we go. This is a brand new series on the channel, starting right now. So this series isn't going to be too complicated at all. Basically, all it's going to be is that midway through each month, I'm going to do a tier list that consists of the best and worst cards for you to use in Clash Royale. I want to do this midway through the season, so that way, you know, of course, the balance changes actually have time to take effect. Because if I were to do it after only 1 week, that wouldn't be really a big enough sample size, and especially if I were to only do it like after the first day. So we're going to wait and do it until the second week of the month, or just the middle of the month. So we're going to start out with the F tier, with those being the absolute worst cards in Clash Royale, and then work our way up into the S tier, which are the best cards in Clash Royale, and I 100% recommend using. And also the stats for these cards were taken from RoyaleAPI.com, and they were taken from more of a competitive look at the game, not necessarily a generalized look at all cards, but more of a competitive look. But before we go ahead and get to the video, it's sponsor time. I want to go ahead and give a big shout out to World War Dough for sponsoring today's video. You guys can go ahead and check out World War Dough by clicking the link in the description or the link in the first pinned comment. And also, feel free to join my club and game so that way you guys can come and hang out with me. Now, I'm gonna keep it real. This game is pretty sick. Oh, and did I forget to mention that it's free? Because yeah, this game is free. So this game actually has a lot of heavy strategy involved with it. You have a commander that you can take and actually move around the map, and you can use him to fight in battles. And also you have towers with special abilities that can benefit the commander by healing him up or by raging him to make him stronger in battle. There are also some really cool taunts that you guys can use in order to psych your opponents out during the match. There are also custom skins that you can use while you're in battle, and each of these skins actually has their own unique ability that you can use in the middle of the match. In the future, there is going to be a $25,000 tournament in game. So right now is the best time to go ahead and download the game so that way you can get good and try to compete for some of those prizes. World War Dough also introduced seasons not too long ago, so you can actually get some pretty cool in-game rewards for doing well throughout the season. And also season 5 of World War Dough is just about to start, which will include some new dances, some new skins, and some new avatars for you to unlock for progressing high throughout the season. And also, if you guys do use my link to download World War Dough and join my club, then you guys will actually be able to participate in a special giveaway. The top 3 people in my club at the end of the month will receive 1,000 diamonds to use in game. That's pretty sweet, right? Once again, be sure to use the link in the description down below to go ahead and download World War Dough. And once again, a big shout out to them for sponsoring today's video and for helping support the channel. So of course you guys can see this big black space right next to my head, and this space is eventually going to fill up all the way to the top of the screen with all of the tiers. So let's go ahead and unveil what the F tier holds. So the F tier consists of Fire Spirits, the Furnace, the Goblin Hut, the Mirror, the Witch, and the newest card in Clash Royale, the Electro Giant. To keep it real, I don't really have much to say about these cards at all, because really all of these cards are just simply bad. There's nothing to say about them. All of them I think deserve some kind of rework or buff. Of course, the Electro Giant is going to be getting that buff when they drop the next update for Clash Royale, which is going to be pretty soon actually. So that hopefully that will make it better. But the rest of these cards, they just need a complete rework in my opinion. And also what I want to do for each tier, I want to highlight a few cards that I believe are either underrated or overrated. There are none of those in the F tier. I believe they are all deservingly in the F tier. So let's go ahead and move on to the next tier. So the D tier consists of Bomber, Cannon, Executioner, Firecracker, Goblin Giant, Goblins, 3 Musketeers, Guards, Minion Horde, Elixir Collector, Rascals, Sparky, Tombstone, and the Wizard. So of course, for a very long time, the Sparky has actually been a good card in Clash Royale, but because of the nerf that it recently got, it belongs in the D tier. Now it only has a 41% win rate off of a 3% usage rate, which is not good at all. The Sparky is suffering a lot right now because that nerf that it received was actually pretty dang significant, making it belong in the D tier. Now, one underrated card in this tier I want to highlight is actually going to be the 3 Musketeers. The 3 Musketeers were doing pretty solid in Clash Royale until the Musketeer got that nerf a couple of months ago. Then they kind of dropped a little bit, but I still firmly believe that if you are a trained 3 Musketeers player, and if you are extremely good with this card and the cards surrounding the 3 Musketeers, then I say by all means go ahead and use the card. I believe in the hands of a good player, the 3 Musketeers can be an extremely solid card, but in the hands of your average player like me, I wouldn't advise using it. I also think the Goblin Giant is pretty underrated, although its main card that it's paired paired with. The Sparky, of course, isn't doing too well right now, but I still think you can pair the Goblin Giant with like a bunch of Swarm cards or like run Goblin Giant double prints, and I still think you can have a lot of success that way. Then another card I think that's kind of underrated is the Firecracker. Now, of course, the Firecracker isn't really good, but I still think it can be pretty effective in some cycle decks. If you guys follow Legend Array, he's another Clash Royale YouTuber. Recently, he's been playing a variant of Mortar Cycle that actually utilizes the Firecracker, and he's been having a lot of success with it. Of course, that is an extremely high skill deck, but the Firecracker still can be used to have success with. All right, let's move on to the next tier. So the C tier consists of Barbarians, Battle Healer, Bowler, Clone, Dart Goblin, Earthquake, Elixir Golem, Freeze, Giant, Giant Skeleton, Goblin Cage, Golem, Inferno Tower, Lightning, Minions, Mortar, Mini P.E.K.K.A, Prince, Rage, Battle Ram, Ram Rider, Royal Delivery, Skeleton Army, Skeleton Barrel, Spear Goblins, Wall Breakers, Valkyrie, Zappies, and Electro Spirit. So the first card I'm going to highlight in this tier is actually going to be the Clone Spell. The Clone Spell can actually be an extremely effective card, especially if you pair it with another card in this tier, which is the Giant Skeleton. Again, another card I think is pretty dang underrated. You pair the Giant Skeleton, you use a Clone, you get a Cannon card, a Skeleton Barrel, Bats, Night Witch, all of that can make for a really fun deck to use, and a deck that is actually pretty effective as well. Another card in here that I think is severely underrated has to be the Dart Goblin. The Dart Goblin is an extremely solid card. It can hit things from a range, it is a pretty good DPS, and it shoots really fast. So the Dart Goblin is a pretty solid card. Now, one card that you may be surprised of being down here is actually the Electro Spirit. So the Electro Spirit is actually a really interesting case because it is one of the highest win rates in Clash Royale at 56% at the moment, but its usage rate is only 2%. But the reason behind this, I believe, is because, of course, the Electro Spirit is one of the newest cards in the game. People don't have it leveled up to the point where they can use it yet. Heck, today on ladder, I played against a guy with level 9 Electro Spirit, and I absolutely thrashed him because his Electro Spirit wasn't a high enough level. So the reason I think that the usage rates are so low is just because, you know, people don't have it leveled up. And also one card in here that I think is pretty overrated. This hurts for me to say, but it's actually the Golem. So as this recording, the Golem has a 5% usage rate and a 47% win rate, which honestly isn't terrible. It's a little bit below average, but even then, I still think that the Golem is completely overrated. Beatdown for the past couple metas really hasn't been doing good because of the prominence of some cards that we will get into later in this video. But yeah, I just wouldn't advise using Beatdown. It really isn't that great right now. Of course, its stats are, you know, somewhat decent, but I think that the Golem is a pretty overrated card in this Clash Royale meta. Then one more card I want to touch on are the Zappies, actually. The Zappies are an interesting card, you know. The Zappies have been in the F tier for the longest time, then they're finally good now. It's kind of cool to see the Zappies being a, you know, somewhat a solid card in Clash Royale. And also just a random tidbit, but the C tier is actually the largest tier. The B tier is the next largest, so I just thought I would throw this in there. So I guess we'll go ahead and move on to the B tier. Okay, so the B tier consists of Archers, Arrows, Bandit, Goblin Barrel, Bats, Dark Prince, Electro Dragon, Flying Machine, Royal Ghost, Goblin Gang, Hog Rider, Ice Golem, Ice Spirit, Lava Hound, Lumberjack, Mega Knight, Night Witch, P.E.K.K.A, Princess, Royal Giant, Rocket, Royal Hogs, Royal Recruits, Giant Snowball, Tesla, X-Bow, Musketeer, and Skeleton Dragons. So out of this tier, the first one I want to touch on is the X-Bow. So the X-Bow is a very interesting card in Clash Royale. So I personally think the X-Bow is an overrated card if you are not skilled with the X-Bow, or unless you're using Ice Bow, because Ice Bow is extremely solid. If you're playing a variant of X-Bow that isn't Ice Bow, you are going to struggle, and it is going to take some time for you to master that deck, like 2.9 or 3.0 X-Bow, even like X-Bow Pump, kind of. Of course, Ice Bow is the easiest variant of X-Bow, but I think for the average player in Clash Royale, X-Bow is a card that you should probably stray away from, especially using on ladder, and you should practice with it before, you know, you actually use it competitively. The next card I want to touch on is actually going to be the Electro Dragon. I believe that the Electro Dragon, in my opinion, is the most underrated card in the entire game. And this card is absolutely devastating. You can get so much value out of this, especially with the Chain Lightning. The Chain Lightning is so satisfying to do. When they play a Sparky behind the Giant and your Electro Dragon can still chain on it, oh, that is such a glorious sight. The Electro Dragon, I recommend using it. It is such an underrated card. So dang good. And now for an overrated card in this tier, we're going to go ahead and talk about the Hog Rider. So there's so many people in the Clash Royale community that will advocate for, you know, a Hog Rider nerf, because Hog Rider is absolutely everywhere. It's so strong and it's just so overpowering. Well, it really isn't actually that overpowered, and let me go ahead and talk about why. So really, the Hog Rider has been struggling as of late. Its usage rate is pretty decent, which is 8%. That's pretty solid for a card, but it has a very low win percentage of 39%, and that is extremely bad, and that is mainly just because of some of the other cards that are dominating in this meta. And some of those cards we are going to go ahead and talk about later, actually in the next tier, with that being the A tier. Let's go ahead and get onto it. So the A tier consists of Balloon, Barbarian Hut, Bomb Tower, Cannon Cart, Elite Barbarians, Electro Wizard, Graveyard, Fisherman, Ice Wizard, Inferno Dragon, Magic Archer, Miner, Mega Minion, and Zap. So as I was saying, there are tons of cards in this tier alone that deal with the Hog Rider so effectively. I mean, we got the Barb Hut, we got the Bomb Tower, we got the Elite Barbarians, we got the freaking Electro Wizard, man. We got the Ice Wizard, you pair that with the Tornado as well. All that shuts down the Hog Rider. So that continues my point on why the Hog Rider is severely overrated. There's so many counters to it that are good right now. So really the only card I want to talk about in this tier is actually going to be the Cannon Cart. So in my opinion, I see the Cannon Cart is like the biggest winner of the past couple of metas in Clash Royale. The Cannon Cart hasn't received a buff in a while, but just because of other circumstances and like kind of the rise of certain variants of bridge spam especially, the Cannon Cart has risen to become one of the better cards in the entire game. And personally, I think that's really cool because the Cannon Cart is an extremely cool card. It's an extremely unique card, and it's super fun to play, so it's really cool seeing a card like that being good. And also, I feel the exact same way about the Elite Barbarians. The Elite Barbarians are a very solid card in Clash Royale now, and that's extremely cool to see. And from my point of view, they aren't broken either. Yes, they are heavy hitters. Yes, they do a lot of damage, but they are also pretty easy to counter because of the nerf they did to their movement speed. It makes it a lot easier to deal with this card. Even if they add a rage spell to it, it still doesn't make them nearly as fast as they were before. So Cannon Cart, Elite Barbarians, I'm happy to see them doing good in the meta. And so now it is time for the best of the best in the S tier. So the S tier consists of Barbarian Barrel, Fireball, Heal Spirit, Hunter, Poison, Skeletons, Tornado, Baby Dragon, Knight, and the Log. And so here is a snippet of the entire tier list in case you guys want to take a screenshot of that. Use snipping tool to get that. But yeah, here's the entire thing in all of its glory. Pretty cool to look at, isn't it? So really, in terms of highlighting cards in this tier, there really isn't that much to highlight. It's just simply that these cards are the best of the best in Clash Royale statistically and from, you know, in-game. I mean, if you guys use any of these cards, you know that they are extremely solid. Although one card I may want to talk about a little bit would be the Hunter, because I was debating putting the Hunter in A tier and S tier, but I just feel like the Hunter is an S tier card. It is so good in every aspect. It can bait out a fireball, it can target air, it can target ground. The damage output it has is absolutely unreal. The Hunter is just an all-around really good card to have in any deck, so that's why I put it in the S tier. And I feel like it's really hard to put any of these other cards up for debate whether or not they should be in the S tier, because I mean, just look at the cards. They are simply amazing. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is version 1 of the tier list. I think that's a good name for this. I'm just gonna call it the tier list. There is no other tier list but mine. This is the tier list. But anyway, gamers, I hope you guys did enjoy today's Clash Royale video. If you guys did enjoy this video, then please be sure to leave a like down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. And also, if you are new to the channel and you like all things Clash Royale, then be sure to subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. But anyway, gamers, it's your boy SolarFury signing off. Peace out, guys. Have a nice day.